Hey, what's going on, visionaries? Jason Osborne here. Today I'm going to be talking about the Godox V860 Mark III speedlight. This is the upgraded version to the V860 Mark II. I've been excited for this one to come out for a while now, and I finally got one. So here are my thoughts coming up next. So yes, the Godox V860 Mark III. Godox came out with an upgraded version to the V860 Mark II. A couple of things that I loved about the V860 Mark II was that it could trigger all the other flashes that I had. So when it was on my camera, I didn't have to worry about also having a trigger on my camera. This would serve as a trigger and the on-camera flash for my events. So that was always a good thing. This is also a TTL flash. So, you know, if I ever wanted to just have the flash do the work for me as far as controlling the power, I used to use that a lot. And overall, it was just a sturdy flash. I love that it had a battery pack. No battery pack in it right now, but I love that it took battery packs instead of having to use 4 AA batteries like some of the other speedlights that I used. So yeah, there were a lot of positives to using this, and it works really well. When I saw that Godox was actually coming out with an upgraded version to this, I was very excited for it. So we're gonna go ahead and knock out the cons and negatives of this new flash right off the bat, okay? First and number one thing that I can say that is a negative, which I was really surprised about, was the battery life. I still have never found an issue where on a full battery, unless it was an exorbitant amount of time that I was covering, like 9-10 hours, where I would actually have to replace this battery in the V860. Now for the V860 Mark III and this battery, well, I found myself running a little short. And for one of my weddings that I did use this flash for to test out the capabilities of it, I actually ended up having to go back to the V860 Mark II because at the time I had just gotten this. I read that the battery was more powerful than the V860 Mark II and actually had a bigger storage amount for power. But I was very surprised to see that it was blinking, saying, change me, change me, change me, toward maybe when I had about 2 hours left of the reception. And this was for an 8-hour coverage, and I started using halfway through. So I was very, very surprised. And granted, I'm not even shooting at full power or using TTL. Either one of those things will definitely drain your battery a lot more, but I'm shooting at maybe 1/4, 1/8 for that power. And I'm not really, you know, going crazy with it, and it still drained it. So I would definitely say if you are going to get the V860 Mark III, make sure that you cop another battery, maybe even 2 batteries, depending on how much you plan on using it, because it's not going to make it through an 8-hour event. I'll guarantee you that right now. That's a really big disappointment in my opinion. These batteries are about $50 a pop. There are no third market or you know, aftermarket batteries that you can use to replace it. The only one I've been able to find is the actual Godox brand of battery. The other disappointment that I have, or I wouldn't even say is a disappointment, it's just something that I think they need to figure out or fix. The dials on the V860III, while it is you know, really, you know, touch sensitive, it's almost too touch sensitive. And I'm not sure if it's just the one that I received, but I find myself, you know, skipping power, you know, ratings or power levels. It'll go from 164 down to like 1.8 and then back to 1/32, you know, and that would really, you know, frustrate me as far as, okay, I'm just trying to, and I felt like it was almost too sensitive when I turned this little wheel right here. It was almost too sensitive for me to accurately depict, you know, what power I wanted. As soon as I nudged it a little bit, it just seemed like it was going crazy and it was just jumping all these different power levels. Now it could just be my model, I'm not sure, but I do feel like this wheel to set your power is a little too sensitive, and I think that, you know, they could have, you know, dialed it in more. But to be honest, that's it. That's the only 2 negatives that I really have. So let's get into the positives. Very first positive I have is the actual overall redesign of this speedlight. Look at that. Look at that. And this is a hole inside of the speedlight. But you know what that hole is for? The battery. All right. Now with the V860 Mark II, what you typically would do was you would open this door right here. You'd slide in the battery, close it, you're good to go. Okay. What they've done, and maybe to make the speedlight lighter, I need to weigh to see if it actually is lighter. It feels about the same kind of weight. What they've done is now all you have to do is just put the battery in the same way, and it completes the body of the speedlight, and it's actually seamless. So you don't have to worry about breaking a door or anything like that. It literally just fits right in. There's a little button right here that'll release the battery. You just push it through and it comes out. So I love the redesign of the actual speedlight. Even though I just complained about the turning wheel, the buttons, the switch overall, very nice. I do like that they are very touch responsive as far as the button goes. I do think the turn wheel could have a little bit more or less sensitivity, but other than that, I think it's a great addition as far as how they designed the buttons on the back of the screen. Another thing that I think was a major upgrade to the V860 Mark II was the latch mechanism, okay? You have this old school wheel here for the latch mechanism. This one upgraded, so no longer do you have to spin and spin and spin to get that tension to hold onto your hot shoe. This is a simple gray button. You turn it once, it clicks, and then you are locked into your hot shoe. You don't have to worry about over torquing or overturning that wheel like you did before and possibly damaging your hot shoe or even breaking your speedlight. Now it's just a simple click, and it has this nice gray release button. It feels sturdy when it's on there. It doesn't wiggle at all. Solid connections to the hot shoe, to your camera. So I definitely like that. The next thing that is really big that they put on is now they actually have a modeling light on the front of this speedlight. Now, all you have to do is just go to the model light setting, and there you go. Now this is a 2-watt LED speedlight, and it has 10 stops of power right here. This is the lowest, and this is the brightest. So as you can see, it gets pretty, pretty bright. Now, why they put this on here, I think is a great addition, a great function, but at the same time, I'm not sure how often I'm gonna use this. You could also use this to illuminate your subjects as you're walking around your reception or your dimly lit event that you're covering, and this is going to put some light onto them, and it's going to help your camera focus faster in dark conditions. But this, depending on how close you are, could also add to exposure to them, so you might want to watch out for that. And also, I'm not sure if you kept this on the whole time how fast it's going to drain the battery, because it's already limited in power and reserves when it comes to the V860 Mark II. So this would probably drain your battery even faster if you just walked around with this on the whole entire time. So my suggestion would be to use this modeling lamp when you're shooting fashion photography, when you want to see where your subject, how the light's going to hit your subject, or when you're shooting a dimly lit event when you just need a little extra focus power for maybe 1 or 2 shots or something like that. I wouldn't recommend using it for the whole entire time. It's basically going to be like a flashlight shining in people's eyes, and I don't think you're going to get flattering pictures like that during an event anyway. The next feature that I love that they put on here, it has a little switch on here where you can switch automatically from manual to TTL. So I typically only shoot manual now when it comes to it being on my on-camera flash. But for the fact that it has this quick and easy switch where if I'm shooting on the fly, I can just switch it and it'll go to TTL. And then when I'm done with TTL, I can just switch it back and go to manual. I love that. The V860 doesn't have anything close to that. So having this little toggle switch to go from TTL to manual is actually a really good thing. Now, as far as using this as an off-camera flash for portraits and things like that, it's more than capable. It's not as powerful as say a Godox 8200, or I think it's a little less powerful than a Godox V1. But if you use this at sunset, golden hour, evening times, maybe even like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, this will do the job. I don't think it's powerful enough to cut through a very no cloud in the sky, bright 12 o'clock sunny day. I don't think it's that powerful to cut through that sunlight, but I do think that it's powerful enough that you could use this as an off-camera flash for sunsets, evening time, or just overall events in general. And just like the V860, you can still use this as a trigger to trigger your other speed lights and strobes and things like that. If it's part of the Godox family, this will be able to trigger it just like a remote trigger that you can buy from Godox. So I have all the confidence in the world that this can handle a professional event. So the price definitely went up a little bit, but only by 50 bucks. On Amazon, you can get the Godox V860 Mark II for about $179. This is now coming on the V860 Mark III for about $229. Now, yes, it's a little bit more pricey, but at the same time, it's still cheaper than a V1 or 8200. And if you're going to be shooting professional events such as weddings or corporate events and things like that, you're going to want your speedlights to have a little bit of quality, be more reliable, and you're going to want them to be durable. So I think $229 is a pretty fair asking point considering all the upgrades that they made from the V860 Mark II. $50 is actually kind of a deal when it comes to price increases. They probably could have charged an extra $80 to $100 for this one, considering all the features that it has. But I'm glad that Godox kept it consumer first and decided to keep it only for $50 for the increase. So you can go on Amazon right now. You can actually check the link in the description below. I have it linked up to the Amazon so you can see for yourself how much it is. If you shoot Canon, Sony, Nikon, they make a version for all of them. Just make sure you get the letter that represents your brand. So if you're shooting Canon, it'll be the V860 Mark III C for Canon. Same thing for Nikon, V860 Mark III N for Nikon, and for Sony, V860 Mark III S. So, you know, just make sure you look out for that letter at the end of the number so you know if it's for your model or brand. So yeah, overall, I have no complaints other than the battery life and the dial that is used to select the power on the V860 Mark III. After that is nothing but positives and high ratings for me on the V860 Mark III. All of the additions and upgrades that they made from the V860 Mark II definitely make it more of a powerhouse flash, and it gives me a lot more confidence to be able to use it during my events and weddings as a reliable pro speedlight. I know that the camera manufacturers like Canon, Nikon, and Sony also make their own name brand speedlights, and they can cost anywhere between $400 to $600. I'm sorry, I don't know about you, but I am not trying to spend $600 on just a speedlight. I would rather get a new 8200, 400, 600 strobe, even get maybe a new lens, or put it just towards something else like my savings account. There you go, that's my review. I'm not gonna get into the whole technical specs of wattage and spread coverage and all that stuff, because at the end of the day, when you're watching this YouTube video, you just wanna know a couple of things. Does it work? Is it reliable? What's the battery life on it? And will it get the job done for the job that I need it for? I highly recommend it. Put the J Osborne stamp on it and keep it moving. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions that I did not address in the video, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.